Well, the federal government says its hands are tied when it comes to stopping ISIS-linked Australians from returning home. We heard it through the ISIS wives saga. We're now hearing it through the saga related to fighters linked to ISIS who are in Iraq at the moment. But questions are now being raised about whether there is more it could be doing under existing laws. So much so that One Nation leader Pauline Hanson has now unveiled her own plan for a new bill aimed at blocking the return of ISIS-linked individuals, strengthening terror bail laws and giving the government more power to cancel passports. A man who's been unpacking the legal commitments, examining the current framework and following these cases closely is former federal AFP Detective Superintendent David Craig. He's on the line now. David, thank you very much for your time this morning.
No worries. Nice worries, Chris.
What was your reaction when you heard today that Pauline Hanson had come up with a bill and put her, front foot forward on this issue?
Well, it's nice to see someone doing it because it's not happening with the current federal government. They're certainly sitting on their hands and they are not testing the waters to protect our country.
OK, let's get back to her bill in just a second. The government's position is that it is bound by existing laws and legal advice when making these decisions. Are there limitations real, or are there other ways to get around them to ensure that these culpable people don't return to Australia?
Okay, it's very simple, Chris. Tony Burke is saying that the High Court, that there could be some constitutional challenge. Now, there's only two relevant cases the constitutional challenges have been made, and that was in relation to stripping citizenship, not about temporary exclusion orders. Uh-huh. So there's not a precedence in the High Court. The only problem with the current temporary exclusion order framework is that Tony Burke isn't using it. It is
so it's there to be used
applicable.
And he's not using it.
That's right. Yeah. It is absolutely applicable. You can imagine, this is designed to protect Australians from dangerous people coming back to Australia and so if they do have to come back, they come back under our conditions and our control. If this legislation doesn't work in this situation with 13 terrorist fighters, then the legislation is completely incompetent and they need to recall Parliament and make changes immediately. They can do that.
David Littleproud said this morning on Sky that there would have to be a change in the Constitution which requires a referendum for any kind of blocking of Australians coming back into Australia.
That may be the case. Look, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, Chris. That might actually be the case, but I'm confident a referendum would reach the threshold without any doubt. But before we even get to that, there's plenty of measures like these temporary exclusion orders that I mentioned before. They can keep these people out for 2 years while we assess the threat, get the prosecutions ready, put community safety plans in place, and then let's get to a referendum. Otherwise, let's quickly get the Parliament together, make the changes, take the fight to the High Court if we have to, and get the referendum done in 12 months' time.
See, the other option here is, let's think outside the square, and I've got to give credit to Mark Latham, the MLC in New South Wales. He mentioned to me, he said, we detain people who come into this country allegedly illegally and we put them in Christmas Island, and then we go through a process whereby they have access to various legal frameworks and we can assess their applicable application to stay in Australia. Why couldn't we do exactly that on Christmas Island with those who want to return and we suspect are dangerous?
Well, it's exactly right. It's a real disparity, isn't it? We've got people that are we suspect are illegal arrivals, and I think they should be detained until everything is known about them, and then probably deported. But when it comes to ISIS people, we've got people suspected of some of the worst crimes. These are world standard crimes of genocide, and slavery, and terrorism. So our government is just sitting back and not using these tools. They've just become really quiet, Chris.
And what about our spy agencies? You see, we've heard Tony Burke, in reference to the ISIS wives, say, well, my advice from ASIO is that they are not a danger to the public. And yet 5 minutes after they return to Australia, they're charged with slavery. And what?
Yeah.
These are incredibly dangerous crimes that they have been associated with, if not culpable of, and that's not too dangerous to say you can't come back in.
I know. And Chris, you may recall that one of the ISIS brides, or these ISIS women, was subject of a temporary control exclusion order. What the hell did she do if these other ones with crimes against humanity can come into our country?
Spot on. How bad were they? How bad was she?
I know, it's just outrageous. We fought, our ancestors have fought very hard to keep our borders safe from invasion of foreign states, and now we're allowing foreign fighters who are completely against democracy and Australian way of life back into Australia. We have got ISIS brides now that are walking the streets in Australia, and I'm pretty confident they'll be in government-supplied housing on government benefits.
Which is why the government won't tell us, because you're
Yes.
right. The cynic in me says this is all about the Labor government not wanting to upset their constituents in southwestern Sydney seats and various seats in Melbourne, and have an Islamic kind of culture turn against the government because they vote Labor. Am I being too cynical?
I think that is the only reason that I can see, Chris. And look, I'm not aligned to a political party, right? I'm all about Australia, and I'm about justice.
Yeah.
And there can be no other explanation in my mind, because these are very dangerous people. And not just the people, Chris. It's if like Dr. Jihad and these other 12 mates of his, if they come back here, the danger isn't just what they may do; it's what they're going to incite to the next Australians. Because these are war heroes. Think of Ben Roberts-Smith. These are the Ben Roberts-Smiths for these young Islamic juveniles that will grow up to be Australia's next wave of terrorists. And I'm still talking a wave of terrorists.
Pauline Hanson's bill proposes stronger passport powers, tougher bail laws for terrorism offences, and new exclusion orders for foreign terrorist fighters. That would be welcome, would it not?
100%. Now, I haven't looked in detail with it, Chris, because it only came out yesterday. I want to go through the fine print and everything, but as a concept from the reading I've done so far, it's all legitimate. And yes, I support it 100%. If there's a constitutional issue, let's take it to the High Court. And if the High Court says there's something wrong with it, let's change the law so the High Court can't.
Yeah, it's too important not to. It's too important not to.
Yeah, this is national security, Chris. You know, this should be well beyond the amount of votes that Labor want in the next election. This is about protecting our borders and our people. Yeah. It's just beyond politics.
Now, you have an avenue to take questions from some of our listeners if they want to take this further, and you can do that through Instagram. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I've got a fairly active Instagram account. I can't get to everybody, but I think a lot of Australians are concerned about this, and they just need to understand what the hell is going on and what does it actually mean. So, I mean, I go on Sky with Peter Credlin and Shari, and I have my Instagram account, and that's probably the best platforms I have. My Instagram is just David Craig AFP, and if people want to send questions or have comments, just use my Instagram handle, David Craig AFP. Pretty simple.
Okay.
I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much for your analysis on a very important topic. Thank you for your time.
No worries, Chris.
Okay.
See you, mate.
The former federal Australian police officer, Detective Superintendent David Craig, look, the laws are there now, as he rightly points out, and to use the definition of what's dangerous and what's not, and to put that onus on ASIO and then use that to say, we can't issue a temporary exclusion order, it's a terrible cop-out. They don't want to fight with the Islamic community. That's what this is about. They don't want to fight because they are rusted on Labor Party voters. And so they will be as loose and as weak as they possibly can, and aren't they showing it?